Hi. I'm testing. I'm entirely testing. Maybe I should just go on right ahead and record. I have a message to give, but I don't have privacy. And I don't know what to do about that. But I guess it is what it is. Because I have one last part, to share. I'm supposed to just stop. Let's carry on from where we left off. Okay. Hi guys, how are you? It's Karabo. I'm recording for the first time on my camera, and because when I record using my cell phone device, my orientation first of all is always portrait, because it's a cell phone. Well, it could be landscape, but you get my point. But the reason why I choose the landscape view is because I don't like this environment, so I'm gonna have to take out the background. I'm gonna have to do that, and so you're just gonna be seeing like an outline of me, not unless I record and like I put the camera in like a landscape mode and see how that works out for me. Anyway, look, I've got information to deliver, and I'm still like experimenting. We are continuing from the last part that we come from, the last series. I'm adding a note to this because I have just been, well, not so much scammed, but deceived, tricked. And the scamming is literally in tandem with everything that I've been speaking about. But I'm not really sure how this phone is gonna work out. Not phone, it's not a phone, it's a camera. Hello. I just want to try something. Give me 1 minute. Like literally, we're still in experimentation mode. You know, I'm gonna be working using background remover. Like I'm like proper, because the landscape mode only shows you a little bit of what this environment looks like. Not landscape, but portrait. But landscape just gives you the full view, and I hate it. I can't stand it. So yeah, either we background remove or we somehow find a way to minimize what you're seeing. But yeah, I also need to buy a stand, like a tripod stand. I've got stories to tell, but I am uncertain about how I'm coming across. And this is a camera, so I'm obviously in like not even a mirror mode. So my left is my right, and my right is my left, and that's really hard to work with. Something that I don't really struggle with my phone. So that's gonna take some getting used to. I can of course like just flip it when I get it to my movie editor, but like for now it's a little bit confusing. Like when I face left, I face right. When I face right, I face left, and it's just like, don't do it. Anywho, the sound here as well, I really hope it is okay, because if the sound is not good, then I'm also gonna have to invest in a mic. Like all these gadgets, who got money for that? Who? Somebody tell us, sister, who got money for that? Anyway, whatever. But like we're just gonna run with it. Thank goodness for editing software that enables us to like do things the way that we want them to do, or make things look the way that we want them to look. Anyway, it's just I've got stories, guys, for days, and I'm scared to you know what, I'm gonna record on my camera. If the sound comes off fuzzy and offish, it's fine. We'll invest in a mic, because you know we've got a little bit of money. We'll invest in whatever we need to invest in to make this work. But the investment that I need to make, I got my legs pulled and some of them toes chopped off, maybe even like skin a little bit on those toes by the South African economy. And like, you know, it's not just South Africa, but it's like the world at large. Yeah, it's the world at large, but you know, we usher in these streets are lamenting against South Africa. Say hello to my drink. Yeah, I really need that stand. Like, I like the landscape thing because then it shows most of my body, but it's okay. We're getting background remover, and you don't need to see all of me anyway. And I don't have to put like, you know, pillows on my legs if I'm like indecent down below. So I guess it's gonna take some getting used to. It's really gonna take some getting used to. I'm also recording on 1080p type thing. When it comes to resolution, I did not go for 4K because I bought a memory card that's only 32 gigs, and that's where I got swindled. Yes, that's where I got swindled. I could have totally gone for 125 or 124, whatever it is that denomination, for the same price, but I got swindled. And so therefore we're just bringing a message home here about what's going on with the world, and the fact that we are going home. I have been getting a flood of dreams, guys, like the past just week and a half of it just basically being kind of over. I had a dream of this one. So I'm currently watching I'm currently watching this show on on Netflix called, what is it called? Blacklist, right? I try to keep it clean. I try to avoid things that have sex in them and profanity and whatnot, and so far it's sort of kind of tolerable. And the show is based on this like criminal dude that makes a deal with the FBI to get clemency or immunity or whatever. And well, I'm still in season 1, but it's kind of obvious that he is the father of the lead character, but she was taken over for adoption at the age of 4, right? So this dude is like basically the biological dad of Elizabeth Kane, but Elizabeth does not yet know it, right? He has got a great deal of care for her and is able to he basically knows. He's like a hard knock criminal, okay, that wants to get out of the crime life, and he's very like white collar in his crimes and is known by basically the world of criminals, be it terrorists, bombers, eugenicist freaks and whatnot that are into like white supremacist ideals. Like, he knows them all and is basically bringing them all to the doorstep of the FBI to unravel, unfold the mystery, and so therefore get arrested, hopefully in exchange for immunity. That's like the gist of the show. I'm still in season 1. I hope it does not start to introduce an alphabet agenda, okay? Yeah, somewhere along the way, because you know how these shows be doing it. It's old enough to be kind of safe, because yeah, any show that's after 2018, 2019 ish on Netflix, it's like the vomit, throw away, scope di bala, like everyone comes out of the closet in shows done after 2017 or 2018. So this is old enough for me to be kind of safe for it, at least for the first few seasons. Perhaps by the time we get to season 9, we might have a few flamingos flying around in the show, but you know, we keep it light. Okay, good beans and bananas. So this show, you kind of fall in love with the character of this like dude that has a daughter that doesn't know is his daughter, right? It's so that she doesn't know that she is his daughter, but ultimately she finds out, like within season 1 she finds out or whatever, right? But in the run-up to, everybody that basically is trying to pull her leg, scam her, con her, do something negative, gets handled by Reddington. That's the name of the lead character. Like, he is very protective of her and he's prepared to basically throw away all the plans that he has got to make sure that she gets things done. She is married to a dude that is a total con artist, and this dude gets brought to the surface as such a thing as that precisely because of the entry into the life of this Elizabeth Kane by Reddington. He's like a father figure from a distance that's looking out for this woman without her knowing that you my real daddy type thing, okay? Ultimately she comes to learn that that's a thing, but before then she's completely in the blind. Now I am in season 1 at the very beginning stages of it, so I essentially am also kind of in the blind about the true state of what's going on here with Elizabeth Kane. Oh, that's your daddy. Like, I'm still like finding stuff like that out. That's where I'm at in the show, like totally season 1, okay, beginning stages. And so God is using it, the images in it. Sometimes that's how he tells me prophecy, the images that are in the show, because of Elizabeth's lack of understanding concerning this guy being her dad, the ultimate discovery that it is her dad, and the eventuality that literally nothing can touch her because of this guy. Nothing. She's essentially just this, like, you know, overarchingly, ubiquitously covered and protected person in the absence of her understanding. She is covered because she belongs biologically to somebody that has connections with multiple criminals across the world, and can't nobody touch him, because he's MC Hammer. Very well. Now, there is no perfect, holy, excellent father figure here on earth that can comprehensively have the back of a daughter or a son. Do you understand what I'm saying? So therefore, rarely ever do I get images used by the Lord in trying to explain to me what's going on that come from perhaps like Hollywood movies, or even just from around the corner, whatever you're looking at out in these streets, like a scooter in the road, or seeing something at the bank or whatever. Rarely ever do I get images or scenes in my understanding that are pure, entirely pure, the way that God is pure, right? But I am wiser and intelligent enough. I have enough understanding of the Bible and enough understanding of the attributes of God to be able to, I guess, draw conclusions and put the pieces of the puzzle together in a holy context when the Lord shows me the warped version, because he's giving me images that I have seen on earth shows or on earth things around, well, even if it's not a show, but like just something I saw at the bank or whatever. Very well. Okay, now that we've put that out there, I had a dream since I started watching Blacklist, okay? Where? Okay, guys, there was this random buffoon, okay, that was basically just, he kept hurting me. He kept like violently breaking me. Like, all right, how can I, this person was a menace to society, like Dennis, all right? he was not just hurting me, but a lot of people. However, I was his main focus. I was his main target. He was basically a pervert, a man that wanted me by force, wanted to marry me by force, and would do anything, calamitize the environmental ecosystem around me, make everything fall apart around me so that I will finally capitulate to his advances. It's a spiritual affliction on my person, because we all know, and I've made mention of this many times before, that there are forces trying to marry me off to a wicked man. And so there will constantly be permutations of horrible wicked men just trying to knock on my door saying, "Garabo, you don't have anybody, ain't nothing going on with you, so just let me take care of you." And when you then go and grab a magnifying glass and basically identify the constitution of this human being, they tend to be involved in the occult and are horrifically and incredibly just absolutely disinterested in the one true God. However, unfortunately, professing Jesus, because they know that I would never consider a man that is not of the faith. So basically a wolf in sheep's clothing. That is what the devil has been for a minute trying to perniciously and very stealthily try to infiltrate into my life. Okay, this man was in my dream and I was avoidant of him because I didn't want him. I was basically a woman that was being pursued by a wicked man, and I said no, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. So what he did was calamitize my ecosystem, like everything around me, make it fall apart, so I will eventually do what he wants me to do, even though I'm walking around disinterested. And what this man did, right, I was living in an apartment building of some sort, and there were like a lot of people that went into an elevator, a lift, like, you know, a lift, an elevator lift, ne? Escalator is the one that is in the malls. This is a lift, the closed one, the one that can give you claustrophobia if you get stuck in there. There were a whole bunch of residents living in this particular residential building that I was also living in, and they were inside the lift going to wherever they were going, and then the lift got stuck. It got stuck in between two floors, and why it got stuck was because this dude, who the Lord compared to Houdini, the magician, so essentially sorcery, he had a Houdinic constitution about him. People who he was, you know how Houdini was the master of disappearance? He was an illusion artist in the sense that he did tricks that appeared impossible to escape, or he was an escape artist to get out of. He would put himself underwater in a straitjacket and get out still alive and everything. That's what Houdini used to do. That's what he basically connoisseured. Okay, yeah, he was a master escapist using magic, and this dude had the constitution of Houdini. Houdini is also a very well celebrated, well known magician in the sense that the whole world still basically looks up to him and his tricks. He is the father of many other magicians. They look up to his tricks and whatnot. So he's well known for basically the art of illusion, of delusion, of making sure that people don't see things as they are. But that's not a good man. Magic is an abomination to Emmanuel in the scripture. So if you are heralded and if you are like a pedestaled for wickedness on earth, if you are well known for just basically getting away with murder, just like Houdini, getting away, escaping death, like constantly, that bunches that you get into because you know magic, apparently that's a good thing according to many people of this world, but according to God, you are an abomination. You are an abomination and a travesty unto the image of God and human beings who are not supposed to be doing these things. You are a rebel. So there's nothing about you celebratory. However, the world does not quite understand who they need to worship, what they need to do, and what they must avoid. So they're dabbling with, you know, the metaphysical realm is imagined something that gives them supernatural powers and things that makes them something that makes them covetable and enviable by the world, because look at how you just keep you're getting away with so much. You're a fugitive from the judgment of God, and yet, wow, like you keep making it. You keep getting literally everything you want. You keep escaping death. The wages of sin are death. You are the master escape artist of death. And we herald you and we congratulate you for that, but according to God, your day is coming. This dude caused an elevator, or it's a lift, yeah, so yeah, an escalator is the one that is in the malls, yes. An elevator in the building that I was staying in, by the grace of God, I hadn't gotten in. I missed it precisely because I was on the next floor that this elevator was coming to, but it got stuck in between the one floor and the other. So everybody in the apartment building where I was living was now stranded in this elevator because this dude wanted to take away every last person that is in my periphery from my life and cause them to be stranded in between realms or environments or floors or places so that they cannot see me, or so that I cannot, you know, the thing about safety in numbers, like how can I explain it? The human race, right? We want our privacy. That's what's good. We live in apartments, we live we go to malls, we go wherever it is that we go, but we want our privacy. You don't want to sit at a restaurant with a person you don't know, and when you get home, even with your next door neighbor in their house, you want them to kind of stay in their house. I mean, even the Bible says that a next door neighbor that's always all up in your grill and they've overstayed their welcome, there's no wisdom in that. So you are content with having a lot of people around you, but you don't want them in your space. You don't want them knocking on your door. You don't want them sitting next to you in the restaurant. You want your own table. You know, there is a way that we operate as the human race. We appreciate the presence of each other, but there is just a tacit, silent understanding that give me my radius. Like, allow me to operate within my radius. Don't be all up in my grill. However, if there were to be a cataclysmic event slapping the planet and everybody in it disappeared, well, I mean, albeit wanting your own space, not like that, not that much. When there is no more next door neighbor, when it's just a ghost town, when for the next 10 kilometers there is nobody to say hi to or to say, hey, where can I find the next petrol station? When you go to the mall and it's empty, there is an eerie sense of loss. There is just a feeling of disquiet inside you. You're not comfortable. Have you ever tried to go to the mall or to go out in public to wherever on Christmas Day? You know, it's so uncomfortable to drive around. That's why it's such a high suicide time. People feel the loneliness, but when the city is bustling, they are a lot more at ease, even though they want everybody in the city talking to them. They don't want everybody in the city rubbing up against their shoulder. They don't want everybody in their city getting in their immediate personal space, but they are content to go to downtown Johannesburg and it be bustling. When it's not, it's eerie, it's creepy, it's scary. So we need human beings around us, even if we don't interact with them. So essentially the satanic strategy in this particular dream was to isolate me entirely, even from the presence of bustling human beings around me. As in, when you go out as a ghost town, when you sit at a restaurant, there's no one there but you. When you are driving in the street, there is a tumbleweed, there are no other cars. That level of loneliness, that level of solitude, so that I will long for any kind of company, I mean really, in a, like, say, makeshift like zombie apocalypse, anybody that is still alive, not taken over by the zombie, you know, disease or whatever, is a friend, even if you never knew them. Anybody that is still with their faculties intact is a friend. So somebody that's walking like, run away. But somebody that's like, hey, how you doing? Oh my goodness, haven't seen a real person in a minute. In 10,000 kilometers, I haven't seen a person. You're like, oh my goodness. And no longer is this human being criminal in any way. And anyway, they could have been when the earth was still bustling before the zombie apocalypse took everything over. They could have been like a criminal. They could have been a murderer. They could have been a child molester. They could have been just this like weird freak stalker that really, frankly, for the better part of the time, avoid them. You're not interested in them. Run away. Like kind of creepy human being vibes. You know what I mean? Yeah, but when there has been an apocalypse, even the like murder, rapist, ex-con guy in the prison cell that is, still locked. The prison cell that is still locked because, there was a zombie apocalypse type thing. Even that guy becomes a friend. He or she becomes a friend. The person that is under normal circumstances avoidable becomes worth your while because they are more human or more company than what's currently the status quo in the world. The dystopia that we are in, you are the only living, breathing thing walking around in the image of God. So I'm running with it. So the strategy is to isolate me so vehemently, so exorbitantly, that I would basically consider even the biggest and baddest of con artists, the biggest and baddest of murderers and rapists out here in the street as worth the while, because it appears there is a zombie apocalypse everywhere. The conditions around me are freezing. Wokomuntu has basically fallen down from some kind of an apocalyptic disease in the body, and they are just grunting piles of meat that have no what do you call this thing? They don't have a ration, reason. They no longer think like members of society, but they think in a very basic way, like eat, like pee, poop. No more super ego kicking in. If at all you were going to use Freud's theory of the psyche. Okay, no more regulation of what's normal and what's ordinary. So everybody just then becomes acceptable insofar as they have some kind of a semblance of acknowledgement of you as a human being, and they're not operating in just basic instincts. That is the strategy of Satan in my life, and I imagine this is applicable to pretty much everybody else around that is suffering in this way. We are in the last days, 2 Timothy 3, that level of insanity, the love of many growing cold. So Janus and Jambres are these characters described in 2 Timothy 3 as ones who just stealthily worm their way into the lives of weak-willed women, and they take advantage, they take for granted the fact that passions are all over their show. They lack something. There is something of the flesh that they don't have, and so they're going to pounce in on that. And like I said, they are described in 2 Timothy 3 as belonging to the body of human beings that are of the last days conglomerate, those who walk in a grand amount of moral turpitude. Okay, Janus and Jambres are exploiters of the last days emotional state of the human being and the moral state or lack thereof of the human race. They capitalize on men who are lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, proud, blasphemous, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, ungiving. Yeah, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. You can go read 2 Timothy 3. Janus and Jambres are these people that know that the world looks like this. And so they're going to go for women who don't have love. They're going to go and pounce on widows, on orphans, on ladies actually in these streets, spinsters, if you even want to go and find that as a category, because that's exactly what I am. And they're going to be like, I'm here to love you in a world where the love of many has waxed cold, according to Matthew 24. So Matthew 24 says that because of an increase in lawlessness, the love of many will grow cold. This is last days vibes, but we also know in 2 Timothy 3, because you can parallel these passages, that the love of people grows cold because of the moral turpitude of 2 Timothy 3. And there are people who are smart enough to try and get literally 10 for the price of 1, 20 for the price of 1. Just get the best of things in this world because they are abandoned, neglected by a very apathetic society of irresponsible people who have allowed themselves to be made like mindless drones that aren't focusing on Jesus, but are focusing on me, eat, defecate, urinate, fornicate, get my basic needs, like literally like a grunting animal, like a grunting animal. And when then these guys observe all these animals all over the show, Janus and Jambres, they're like, oh my goodness, what a beautiful lady. And she's struggling because everybody else around is a beast around her because their love has grown cold. So I mean, take me as I am, and disregard your conscience, disregard your intuition, disregard what it is that the Lord is basically telling you. Like red flag. When the world was better, when people were less demonized, when people were less possessed, when people were less 2 Timothy 3'd, because we know how wickedness has just ramped up in a very strange, eerie fashion. It's happened so quickly. Yeah, when people are less that thing, when they were less that thing, you would never think, ever consider to be with a brother, ever. You would never even look at me. Oh goodness, what are you doing? As this esteemed like academic, you are doing well in your career, you're killing it with like some murder/rapist that just so happens to have escaped prison. What are you doing with that? What are you doing making yourself like Sarah Trankedi trying to break out Michael Schofield in Prison Break? What are you doing trying to be Unandipha Makudumela, whatever her surname is, with Thabo Bester? What are you doing? In a more reasonable, rational world that is less taken over by demons, women are sober and they know when, I mean, it's one thing to struggle with the hot boy in the school that's cheating with all the girls, that's hollering at you that you have a crush on, and you're tempted to be with them because you're attracted, but it's another altogether to literally be with a murderer and a rapist. It's another. Like, women are rational enough to know not to do that, but in these last days, it appears they're not. Look at what Nandipha did. This is a South African epidemic. I suspect it might even be global. Nandipha went and literally staged a prison break. She was like Sarah Trankedi, a man, all the way down to even stealing bodies, and she's facing such a long prison term because she was irrationalized. She was made into like a mindless drone by Janus and Jambres. That is what's going on out here in these streets. Yeah, so when you're living in a world like that, literally con artists marry the baddest girls in the game. You get wicked men marrying absolute gems of females out here in these streets, or even maybe in the opposite extreme. But listen here, I'm here to give the truth to women. That's what my ministry is at the better part of it, because my laments, my struggle, what I'm relatable to is a woman. I'm relatable to by women who have been basically thrown in the laps of some of the most dangerous men on earth, but because of the way times are, because of how irresponsible parents are with their children, because of how irresponsible friends are with their girlfriends, because of how irresponsible aunties are with their nieces, like how people just are not taking care of women anymore. There are these like literal murderers and rapists marrying like entire glories of the community girls that are like really good, great girls, and they are being wed off to men with horrible rap sheets, be it in the spirit realm or physically. But like, it's whether or not it's detected in the physical realm like with Thabo Bester, or unseen in the spiritual realm like with a guy that has killed using witchcraft, or has gotten a woman using korobela, love curses and what have you. Bottom line is, you are dealing with a rapist and you're dealing with a murderer, and he is trying to marry a good girl, and they are getting away with it because of the lackluster activity that is responsible in taking care of a widow and an orphan, a spinster, and like a bachelor. Like, you are dealing with a society that is not taking care of the community anymore. You know how they say a village raises a child? The village is not there to raise the child anymore. So this gorgeous Cinderella girl is just abandoned by people who all care for her or him. And so now there are these like pernicious, stealthy beasts that rock up, calling themselves human beings, trying to take these people 10 for the price of 1, capitalizing on how much of a tumbleweed is encircling their ecosystem. They live in a ghost town where nobody cares for them because we're in 2 Timothy 3 days. Guys, let's move to the next part so we can continue to explain this, okay? Yes.